All right, take a breath. Settle in. This one is a slow burn. In the best way. Have you ever noticed something strange? The loudest people in the room often look powerful early in life. Confident, fast, dominant, always winning. And then there's you, the quiet observer, the one who feels everything, the one who notices mood shifts before words change, the one who's told, "You're too sensitive," like it's an insult instead of a superpower still loading. If you're an empath, chances are your early life felt confusing. You cared deeply. You gave too much. You absorbed emotions like a human sponge that never learned how to wring itself out. And somewhere along the way, you wondered, why does everyone else seem ahead while I'm still figuring things out? Here's the plot twist no one tells empaths early enough. Empaths don't peak early. They evolve. And when they do, it's quiet, terrifying, and incredibly powerful. Let's talk about why. Empaths usually start life with what I like to call emotional Wi-Fi. They don't just hear words. They feel tone. They sense tension before arguments happen. They can walk into a room and instantly know who's upset, who's pretending, and who's about to explode over something very small, like the wrong brand of tea. As kids, this ability isn't celebrated. It's misunderstood. You're called soft. Too emotional. Too serious for your age. Adults tell you to toughen up. Peers tell you to relax. And society quietly rewards the people who speak louder, move faster, and feel less. So what do empaths do? They adapt. They shrink their reactions. They second-guess their instincts. They learn to keep the peace instead of speaking the truth. And for a long time, it feels like a disadvantage. Because while others are charging forward, empaths are processing. Everyone else is sprinting. Empaths are downloading updates, painful updates, heavy updates, emotionally exhausting updates. But here's the thing about updates. They make the system stronger. Early life for an empath is often a crash course in disappointment. They trust too easily. They love too deeply. They assume others feel the way they do. Spoiler alert, they don't. Empaths give kindness where boundaries were required. They stay loyal where leaving would have been healthier. They forgive again, and again, and again, until one day something shifts. Not dramatically, not loudly, just a quiet internal sentence. I can't keep doing this. That sentence is the beginning of power. You see, empaths don't become powerful by becoming colder. They become powerful by becoming clear. Clear about who deserves access. Clear about where their energy goes. Clear about when empathy should be offered and when it should be withheld. And clarity takes time, lots of it. Most empaths need years of emotional trial and error to learn a simple truth. Feeling deeply doesn't mean sacrificing yourself. That lesson alone changes everything. Think about this. When you're young, empathy is like an open door. Everyone walks in. Some wipe their feet. Others track mud all over the floor and act like it's your problem. Later in life, empathy becomes a controlled entry system. You still care. You're still kind. But now there's a lock, a doorbell, and a very selective guest list. And suddenly, your life feels quieter, not empty, peaceful. That peace is power. Here's where things get interesting. While others were busy chasing approval, empaths were learning about emotional patterns. While others were focused on being impressive, empaths were learning how people really behave under stress. While others avoided discomfort, empaths were sitting inside it, studying it, surviving it. So later in life, when challenges show up, empaths don't panic. They've already been there emotionally. They've already felt worse. They've already survived heartbreaks that would have broken louder personalities. They don't overreact. They respond. and that's a dangerous advantage. Let's add a little humor here, because empaths need to laugh too. Empaths in their 20s. Did I say something wrong? Are they mad at me? Should I apologize again just in case? Maybe it's my fault. Empaths later in life. That's your issue. Interesting behavior. No thank you. Silently leaves without drama. Growth looks suspiciously like peace. Another reason empaths become powerful later. They develop emotional intelligence the hard way. Not from books, not from motivational videos, but from lived experience. They learn how to read between the lines. They recognize manipulation early. They spot fake kindness instantly. They can feel when something is off, even when everything looks perfect on the surface. And once an empath trusts their intuition, game over. Because intuition plus boundaries is an unstoppable combination. Here's something most people don't realize. Empaths don't just understand emotions. They understand people, their fears, their insecurities, their unspoken motives, not in a creepy way, in a deeply human way. That's why older empaths make incredible leaders, creators, counselors, artists, and entrepreneurs. They don't lead with ego. They lead with understanding. They don't manipulate. They influence. And people feel safe around them, even if they can't explain why. Now let's talk about confidence. Because empath confidence doesn't look like chest thumping or constant self-promotion. It looks like calm. It looks like not needing to prove anything. It looks like being okay with silence. It looks like walking away from chaos without announcing it. Empaths stop chasing validation later in life because they've felt what it's like to live without it. They've survived being misunderstood. They've survived being overlooked. They've survived being taken for granted. So approval stops controlling them. And that freedom, that's power. Another quiet upgrade empaths get with age is discernment. They stop seeing potential and start seeing patterns. They stop romanticizing behavior. They stop making excuses for people who hurt them. They stop explaining themselves to those committed to misunderstanding them. They learn that kindness doesn't require self-betrayal. And once that lesson settles in, empaths become surprisingly firm, not aggressive, not cruel, just unmovable. Let's be honest. You don't mess with a healed empath, not because they'll attack you, but because they won't play the game. They won't argue endlessly. They won't beg for understanding. They won't chase closure. They'll simply disengage. And nothing unsettles manipulative or ego-driven people more than someone who refuses to react. Silence becomes a boundary. Distance becomes self-respect. That's not weakness. That's mastery. There's also this myth that empaths are fragile. Sensitive? Yes. Weak? Absolutely not. Sensitivity means you feel more. And feeling more means you learn faster. Every emotional experience becomes data. Every heartbreak becomes wisdom. Every disappointment becomes discernment. So while others repeat the same mistakes for decades, empaths evolve. Later in life, empaths stop absorbing everyone else's emotions. They still sense them, but they don't carry them. They realize, just because I understand how you feel doesn't mean I'm responsible for fixing it. That realization alone saves years of emotional exhaustion. And suddenly, energy returns. Creativity returns. Focus returns. Joy returns. You'll often notice something fascinating about older empaths. They're calm in chaos. They're grounded in uncertainty. They're steady when others spiral. Why? Because chaos feels familiar. They grew up managing emotional storms, sometimes not even their own. So when life gets loud, they stay quiet. When life gets confusing, they stay centered. That kind of stability is rare, and people notice. Here's the funny part. The same people who dismissed empaths earlier in life often start seeking them out later. For advice, for comfort, for clarity. Because empathy, when paired with experience, becomes wisdom, and wisdom has gravity. Empaths also become powerful because they finally learn to choose themselves. They stop confusing self-sacrifice with love. They stop equating exhaustion with loyalty. They stop thinking suffering is a requirement for connection. They realize love should expand you, not drain you. That realization changes relationships, careers, entire life directions. And here's the final piece most people overlook. Empaths don't just become powerful, they become free. Free from emotional manipulation, free from people-pleasing, free from constant self-doubt. They still care, deeply, but now they care from a place of strength instead of depletion. And that's the kind of power that doesn't need an audience. So if you're an empath and life feels slow right now, if you feel behind, if you feel misunderstood, if you feel like everyone else got the manual except you, relax. You're not late. You're loading something complex. And when it finishes, you won't need to announce it. People will feel it. And that's how you'll know your power has arrived.